Procrastination has a sneaky way of keeping you stuck. You convince yourself that planning, overthinking, and perfecting everything is so productive, but deep down, you know it's just fear holding you back. So, in today's episode, I'm sharing how to break free from the cycle of procrastination and embrace messy, immediate, imperfect action. And it's funny because I literally procrastinated getting this episode to you. So, you're going to hear my real life story, lessons I've learned the hard way, and actionable strategies to help you stop overthinking, overplanning, and start moving towards the life, business, and relationships you deserve. So grab your cozy socks, your favorite blanket, and get comfy, friend, and let's dive in. Hey there! You just stumbled into the Anxious Creative Podcast, where overthinking turns into ahas, mess-ups become magic, and anxious spirals, totally part of the process. I'm Dawn Bradley, your messy, imperfect host, here to help you, the recovering people pleaser, the perfectionist, to stop chasing the unachievable and start embracing the chaos. Spoiler alert, that's where the real magic happens anyway. So buckle up, friend, because we're about to have some laugh so hard till you cry moments, a few hard truths to help you grow, and naturally a little, or let's be honest, a lot, of oversharing. You ready? Let's dive in. Okay, I'm so excited to be talking about how to quit procrastinating and taking messy, immediate action. And I found myself starting to get into planning this episode, which is counterintuitive to stopping procrastinating. And I just came and sat down in my office and I'm like, what's my recording about today? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been procrastinating all morning. I'm an imperfect human being that's going to share with you how I beat procrastination. But the reality is that I still fall into it sometimes because I love planning and thinking about things, and it helps keep me thinking that I'm being productive when in reality, I'm not being productive. I'm being busy. And so many of you get caught in the busy work because it makes you feel safe. And I still, even though I get on stages and speak to hundreds of people and I have this podcast and I'm on Instagram and I'm seen, there is still this fear sometimes of what if people criticize me? And I went live on Instagram this morning, the day that I'm recording this, talking about learning to fill your own cup and learning to love yourself first instead of outsourcing your love and value. And how many times I've done that in my business and in my personal life where I'm like going over and above for my clients, coming in on my days off, working late, squeezing them in. And then when they don't profusely thank me and tell me, oh my gosh, you're amazing, you're like the best hairstylist ever, I'm like, excuse me? What? And then I had this aha where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing things out of the kindness of my heart. I'm doing it as a transaction for them to tell me how amazing I am. And I've done this in friendships and romantic relationships as well, where it's like you go and do something and then they're not like giving you like the feedback that you crave. And you're like, oh, I wasn't doing that because I've convinced myself that I'm just like this kind, giving person. And I've even gotten texts from people being like, I guess I just give more than I ever get back. And this is such a victim mentality because you're outsourcing your worth. But then when you outsource your worth, procrastination can set in as well because you're like, what if people don't like me? If people don't like me, then clearly I'm not worthy. And if I'm not worthy, then I'm not lovable. And if I'm not lovable, then I have no worth in this life. And then what's the point? Those aren't always our conscious thoughts, but right, like you get where I'm going. You've had this, oh yeah, that kind of connects the dots. And so if you play safe, if you procrastinate and stay in the planning, and if you go, oh, well, there's probably a better way, and you keep continuing to plan to try to convince yourself that you can find a way to get to the end goal completely safe and without risk, you will never take a risk because a risk is a risk because risk exists. And that's the hardest part. And let me tell you, criticism isn't fun. But the joy that I get from when you click with the right client, when the right client books in and they love you, or when you make a mistake and someone is compassionate and understanding and is, oh my gosh, you're human, let's make this right. When people don't berate you or tell you you're bad because you made a bad decision or you made a mistake. And that's what I shared on my live this morning is like really disassociating from I am bad versus I did a bad thing, or I'm a mistake versus I made a mistake. And so understanding that, knowing that, I'm really starting to go, I am an amazing human being. And I know this is feeling a little raw, but it's going to make sense in a second, is like the moment that you're not waiting for other people's approval or other people's praise or other people's affirmation, it's nice to have. But when you no longer need it because you get it from yourself, taking risks of being seen and possibly being rejected isn't as scary because you know you're good. And I am almost 42 years old and I am still uncovering different layers of this. Like that whole oxygen mask, put your oxygen mask on first before you help other people. I've known that analogy. It clicked on such a deeper level for me than it had ever clicked before this New Year's. And I had a very, not even just like metaphorical shift on New Year's Day, but a very real, rocking my socks off reality wake up to how I had been putting my oxygen mask on, breathing in, getting as much breath, and then taking it off and going and helping other people, and then scraping back to try to get to my oxygen mask when I was out, instead of putting the oxygen mask on, keeping it on, and helping other people. I found that my pattern, and this is what gets me procrastinating, is my pattern is get myself healthy and doing well and feeling confident, and then give without taking care of myself, plummet, crash, burn, and then need to start over from scratch, where I'm learning maintenance. And this has been a resounding theme and lesson in my life. Maintenance and consistency are the key when taking care of yourself. And if you want to get out of procrastination, you have to consistently be willing to show up and do the thing that you're avoiding. Show up and do the thing that feels scary. Why are you, and ask yourself, why am I avoiding it? Now, for me, why was I avoiding recording this podcast when I didn't even know what the topic was yet? I was like, I need to go down, I need to record the podcast. I was avoiding it because lately I've been really over planning, and it's so funny. And I'm like laughing on the inside right now that this is the episode that I'm recording, because literally I was like having a pep talk with myself up in my bathroom, all about having a pep talk with myself, being like, Dawn, just go do the thing. And I so quickly fall into what I have to say doesn't matter enough. So I need to get really intellectual. I need to really get into 3 steps to or 5 secrets of, instead of just sharing my story. And I was like, no, Dawn, the magic happens when you show up and you just share from the heart. Now, I think sometimes when I have like step-by-step plans, they're really helpful as well. There's nuances, there's exceptions. But the fact that my pep talk was like, just go do the thing and look at what you're talking about, and then just share the stories that you've got. You've got over 20 years experience in your industry. You've got 42 years of experience on this planet. Just share. And then here I am talking about take messy, immediate, imperfect action. And honestly, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. People are going to misunderstand. I shared something on my live this morning that I have never shared publicly before. And you know what? It's like really liberating, because and I shared a mistake and a bad choice that I made in my past, and how I held it held me back for so long. Cause I'm like, I'm a shitty person. When reality is I made a shitty decision. I made a shitty choice, and it doesn't define my future, but I let it, because I was like, how did I make this one mistake this one time? And it was a big enough mistake. And in hindsight, and working with a therapist years ago, this is 15 years ago, she's, you know what? I'm not saying that you made the right choice in that scenario, but you did what you had to do to get out of an unhealthy place. And yes, maybe you didn't make the decision that you're proud of, and maybe it wasn't the right decision, but it got you to a place where you are now. And so, not that I am condoning bad behavior, but you need to be willing to forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made in the past, knowing that what you've done in the past doesn't define you as a person, doesn't define your future, and doesn't define your ability to be successful, whether it be in life, business, or relationships. But if you don't love yourself enough to trust and believe that, you're going to keep in the procrastinating, you're going to keep in the avoiding, you're going to keep in the choosing people, scenarios, clients, businesses, works that affirm that you suck. But when you start to take messy, immediate, imperfect action, trusting and knowing that you are a worthy human being, willing and worthy of the life and business that you crave, you'll make decisions moving forward, and you'll make mistakes along the way, but you know that they don't define you. And I saw this other podcast, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he was saying, if you go from sitting on a decision for a month and then deciding at the end of the month to making a decision once a week, even if, so on average, there's 4 weeks in a month. You go from making 1 decision a month to 4 a month, and you get 2 of them wrong and they go sideways, but 2 of them work out, you're still double ahead of the person who only makes 1 decision a month. Just start making choices and showing up and taking messy, immediate, imperfect action frequently. It's not that you're going to get it right more often. In time, yes, you'll start to see what works and what doesn't work. But be willing to show up messy. Be willing to be seen failing. My first time I handed out a business card to someone and asked them to be my client, they did not become my client. And I made a fool out of myself, I felt. I was so embarrassed. I handed my card to a grocery clerk and I was like, you should be my client. Blah, blah, blah. It just came out weird. the first time, and like she never came. But what that scenario did for me was help me build my confidence. Okay, I did it. I got it out. It came out weird. What do I do next time? And you learn and you take note of what happens. But if you stay stuck in the procrastinating, if you stay stuck in the, okay, how can I say it so eloquently and how will it come out most confidently? You don't know until you do it. So stop getting in your own way and thinking that you can plan a way into perfection. It's impossible. The way Mozart, I don't actually know, but the way you get better at playing the piano is you practice. And this is something I'm redoing my entire Rock Your Business program right now. And this is something that I have them doing in the modules and in the lessons is practicing the actual stuff. Now you can practice, a basketball team can practice all day long, but until you get into the game, do you get to actually implement. So you want to learn things, you want to take action and practice them, but you have to implement them at some point. And I know you're scared of that because you're scared of getting it wrong. The first time I enforced a policy, it felt so weird. Like I didn't like doing it. And then I've learned over time how to say it more compassionately but assertively. And this is the things I help my students with, and I give them verbiage, but it still takes you doing the thing. The first time I fired a client, it didn't go well. I didn't feel proud of how I managed it. But I did it and I learned from it and I grew from it. And now I teach you to help avoid some of the steps, but you still have to show up messy. You still have to take immediate imperfect action. You have to be willing, seen, failing. And so ask yourself, what are you actually scared of? Because for me, if I'm being honest, the thing I'm scared of is people going, who is she to be teaching this if she still makes mistakes? I had this ideology that in order to teach and share and give, that you have to be in a place of whatever you're teaching and sharing, you never make a mistake with. When in reality, the more that I've shared my mistakes, my missteps, when I fried someone's hair off, when I didn't deal with this scenario well, when I didn't enforce my policy, when I made an exception, when I grandfathered that client into an old price because I was too uncomfortable and I was scared of losing them, when I did all the things wrong, when I share these, it's actually what builds connection. Mistakes are what makes you human. How you deal with them is what will help you move forward. Do you go into self-criticism, self-destruction? I suck. I'm not worthy. Clearly, I'll never. Clearly, that person's meant for it. I always thought success was meant for someone who's more deserving. I had this dream of being an actress growing up. I was so shy. And even still, I'm quite shy. Like, I'm comfortable in my office right now in front of the camera. I'm comfortable. I don't go on social media out in public very much. Like, you'll never see me like in a mall with my phone being like, hey guys, like that. I don't like drawing that kind of attention to myself. But I can get on stages and perform. I've been doing that since I was 5. But I had this dream of being an actress growing up. But then I thought, oh, that's me. And I mean, I'm not an actress, right? I don't do that. But I think I had this dream of sharing with others in a one-to-many aspect. And I really thrive and love being on stage and teaching and sharing and storytelling. And for the longest time, I didn't think that I could make a career out of it because I'm like, that's for more deserving people. That's for more outgoing people. And I labeled myself, and yes, I am introverted, but I can be extremely extroverted as well in certain scenarios. But because I was like, I'm not that, and that's for someone more deserving and more successful, because I'm just Dawn, this small town, shy, anxious, awkward girl who no one gave the time of day to. When really, holy freaking cow, I'm Dawn Bradley, bitches. Like, I've become the person I always thought I couldn't be. And it's not because my life has been easy and breezy. I got married at 26, divorced at 28. I thought that was the biggest fuck up ever. I grew up believing that divorce was not warranted. I thought I was damaged good at that point. The next person I dated after that would reinforce that by saying, I don't know if I should be dating you, you're divorced. And I felt so worthless that I just felt lucky that someone wanted to date me. And I put up with so much shit in that next relationship, and it only lasted like 8 months. But the psychological abuse that I endured in that relationship, and I chose to because I felt I was unworthy. And then moving forward, and then that seeped into my business. I felt like my clients disrespected me when really I wasn't standing up for my worth. Someone on my Instagram live this morning said, I'm ready about to fire this client. They keep late canceling and disrespecting me. And I said, I'm going to have some tough love with you for a minute now. But are they disrespecting you? Because if you have a policy on late cancels, and if they know that they have to be charged, and if you're enforcing it and following through, it shouldn't be an issue. Like my late my no-show policy is like, you'll get charged the full amount if you don't reach out at all. So if you have that policy where if like you cancel under a certain amount of time, you get charged the full amount, or you'll get charged whatever fee you find to make it worth it of you not having a client. You need to know that. And this is stuff that I teach you in Rock Your Business and the metrics that matter, that it's actually like plug and play. You don't actually have to do any of the work. The calculator does it for you. So you know exactly how much money you need to bring in. But anyway, I digress. If you know that and you're following through on it, you shouldn't feel disrespected because a client will understand your policy. Oh, I just burped. They'll agree to it. I just call things out as they are so that I don't feel weird and embarrassed when they happen. Oh my gosh, did everybody hear that burp? Do we need to go edit it out? I can't be bothered to go edit it out. We're just going to call it out because I'm human. Okay. So what was I saying? I totally distracted myself now. Oh, if you've got a policy, if you make sure your client knows about it, make sure they agree to it, make sure they understand the consequence. And then you have to be the one to stand up and respect it first and make sure you follow through. So when they understand the policy of late cancels, they know the consequence if they late cancel, they agree to it, they late cancel. It's your job as a business owner to be like, awesome, no problem. I'm not going to get mad at someone for late canceling if they know the policy. Let's say just FYI, I'm going to charge the card on file or whatever way that it goes. And if they push back, I'll be like, hey, I just want to remind you of my policy that you agreed to. But I've never heard of one of my students having a client, when they follow the consultation process that I teach, never having a client push back. They're scared to enforce. They're nervous. They've made up all these scenarios in their head of what ifs and what's going to happen. But when they actually follow through, I get messages all the time of, oh my gosh, my clients, yeah, of course. Or all of a sudden the clients, you know what, I'll cancel this thing and I'll make it. Like, it's all made up in our head, this fear. But when you show up and take messy, immediate, imperfect action on the thing and you follow through and you respect it, you're not as frustrated with other people, because you're actually frustrated with someone else. When you're angry with someone else, it's a sign that there is a lack of boundaries somewhere in your life. And boundaries aren't about other people changing their behavior. Boundaries are about an action you will take. So a boundary in your business is a policy. A policy is telling someone not they can't never no-show. It's when you no-show, this is what I will do. A boundary is not about controlling other people and making them change their ways to accommodate you. You will be banging your head up against a wall for the rest of your life. Boundaries are, when this happens, I will take action on this. But you need to start taking messy, immediate, imperfect action in order for it to work. You got to stop hoping that people will just magically, it's like my parents being like, if you kids don't settle down, we're going to pull this car over and turn it around and go home. They never did. I have a friend. I think we were scared enough to like stop. Right? But I had a friend who actually didn't go on a holiday with her kids because she's like, I can't let them, if they don't take me seriously, I'll never have their respect. Respect to that friend. So I hope you can see here that you need to take messy, immediate, imperfect action. Be willing to be seen failing. And the way you do that is when you're procrastinating something, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And it's usually there's a couple layers to it. I'm afraid someone will be mean. If they're mean, then what? Well, if they're mean, then I'll have hurt feelings. If I have hurt feelings, then clearly I don't think I'm worthy. And clearly I'm putting my worth in other people's hands. So maybe I just need to find my worth outside of other people. Okay, I'm a worthy human being, doing some inner work and understanding I am worthy despite other people not liking me. Even if they reject me, I am safe with myself and I will be okay. Okay, I'm going to go do the scary thing. Boom, boom. I hope you could hear those snaps. It can be as quickly done as that. Quick pep talks. Now, sometimes it's taken me a lot of time, community, therapy to do this. And so if you are seeking a community to feel safe in, where you know you won't be judged and you can show up real, raw, honest, and vulnerable, Rock Your Business is definitely the place for you. You can go check out the links in the show notes. You can also get my free masterclass on how to go from overwhelmed to profitable at dawnbradley.com/free class. But I would love, if this connects with you and resounds with you and you're ready to dive into your business in a way that encompasses emotional intelligence, simplified strategies, and consistent showing up in a way that's messy and imperfect and embracing it, let's connect. You can follow me over on Instagram at Dawn Bradley or check out any of the other stuff in the show notes. Friend, procrastination does not have to define your story. Taking messy, immediate, imperfect action can move you closer to your goals and help you create the life, business, and relationship you've always dreamed of. I promise. And next week, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So make sure that you are subscribed and you have your notifications on, because I'm going to be diving into why most creative service providers fail at charging their worth and exactly how you can change it. You do not want to miss this, as it's going to tackle the mindset shifts and practical steps to find value in yourself and your work. So if today's episode spoke to you, share it with a friend and check out my free masterclass, How to Go From Overwhelmed to Profitable, at domrelli.com/free class. But until next time, friend, stay weird, stay messy, and most importantly, stay unapologetically you. All right, we'll see you next week.